Hello, hi guys. This is the very first episode of this podcast. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of interviewing Billy Crabbe, who's an amazing sound and mixing engineer. I've known him for a while now, and we went deep. So we started with his beginnings, how he got into recording and mixing. Also, we talked about Berklee, a really big talk about Berklee and what it means to go there and what it means also to come out of there. And finally, we went into into plugins and how he basically is producing his own plugins. So yeah, a really interesting episode. I hope you guys like it, and please, if you like what you see, subscribe, tell your friends, and like and all the good stuff. All right, thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed this interview. We're live. Yeah.
Lovely.
Okay. Nice, man. First time doing this, so you had your
and I'm your first guest.
You're the first guest, man.
Amazing.
So thanks so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
No, my pleasure. I'm always happy to chat with you.
Yeah. No. Where are you right now? Are you?
I am in lovely Greece at the moment. Very sunny Greece, very hot Greece.
Still. Oh wow.
It is. I mean, it's only the beginning of September, so the heat wave is usually around July.
Okay.
And then up until August 15th, it remains quite warm, and then it gradually kind of gets a little bit cooler, but it's still quite hot. I don't know if you can tell. I've been trying to get a tan, but it's not working.
Man, now here is that it's back to London normal. So
yeah, I'm back in a week, so I'm not looking forward to that cloudy weather.
No, exactly right. Nice one, man. Yeah, I just first thing I wanted to ask you was how did you start with music? What was your first encounter with music?
Yeah, so as you'll find out as we chat, my origin or life story is quite complex. So we as a family, well, all my siblings and myself grew up in Luxembourg. So my earliest memory of music is probably there was the Yamaha course. I think they still have it in the UK, but I was doing the kids version for piano. I was like probably 4 or 5 years old. So I remember that's like my earliest memory of like playing an instrument. And then the obsession with guitar probably started around like 5. I remember it's sort of that classic story of, you watch Elvis Presley play on the TV and you're like, that's what I want to do.
Wow.
So I remember I didn't know who he was at the time, but I remember just seeing his moves and him playing the guitar. I was like, oh, I'd like to.
Oh, was he actually Elvis? Like, were you watching Elvis? And
yeah, he was on TV. It must have been like a documentary or something,
yeah.
just playing in the background. And he was like a scene of him playing on stage. I was like, oh yeah, that instrument looks cool. He looks cool. So I remember just sticking with piano for a long time, up until I was maybe 7 or 8. But throughout those years, I was constantly thinking, I was trying to ask my parents, could I play guitar? Could I start with guitar? But the idea was like I would commit to piano since I started that, and then eventually I would transition. And then it just reached the point where I was like, I just started hating piano. I was like, I need to take guitar lessons. So I started playing guitar around 9, and haven't stopped ever since. So it's been a long time. I'm 34 now, so it's been a few years.
Wow, man, that's amazing. Did you start like the usual thing, classical guitar, and then move
so I don't know how it is in Italy, and I'm not too sure how it is in the UK, but in Greece, the electric guitar when I was younger wasn't like a recognized instrument. Like you couldn't get grades, you couldn't like take exams for electric guitar. So I did classical studies. I would take the exams. I would like pass all of these levels, and I did that for a few years, and then eventually I ended up getting an electric guitar, and that kind of like got put to the side, and I was like focusing on the electric guitar stuff quite a bit. So I started off in classical, which was pretty cool because I managed to develop all the finger picking style,
Nice.
which then, you know, I use it a lot on electric guitar with the hybrid picking stuff, and you know, even for like finger picking stuff. But that was a nice kind of introduction to guitar, and it also helped, like, you know, be able to play electric guitar down the road and add some like cool techniques into it.
Yeah. Where you're like kind of like, you know what, I'm doing classical guitar, but actually I wanna be Jimi Hendrix, you know.
Oh yeah, it was definitely like I know. I mean, I take that back. I got quite obsessed with guitarists like Paco de Lucia, for example. There was like I don't know if you ever listened. There was like a CD that everybody listened to. That was Aldi Meola.
Oh yeah, that trio album. John
The
McLaughlin.
trio, yeah, John McLaughlin, and
was it
and
live
they
in
had like
San Francisco or something?
it was like exactly that CD.
Yeah,
I remember
that.
just listening to that, and the classic song of that record was Mediterranean Sundance. So I remember just getting like super obsessed with that. So there was like classical influence that I enjoyed listening to, and there's pieces that I've studied that I remember to this day, and I teach them actually to my own students. But there was also that phase where like I wanted to learn how to play Purple Haze, for example. And for the longest time, I was playing it on a classical guitar. It's like it just wasn't the same. It just wasn't the same.
So when did you switch from classical to electric?
It must have been around maybe like 12, 13.
Okay.
So it was quite, I
Still
guess,
young.
young, but you know, I think considering compared to other kids my age, they would be playing electric guitar longer than I have. But yeah, I got my first electric guitar probably around 13. It was like a nice shiny Yamaha. The poor thing is in my cupboard now here in Greece. I stripped the paint off later on because it was like too shiny red. I wanted something a little bit more rock. But no, I played that guitar for years. And, you know, once I got it, I started learning all the Metallica. I was in a very heavy metal phase. So I was playing all Metallica songs, and Megadeth was like and blues sort of came later on. But yeah, it was around like 13. I started like playing electric guitar.
Okay.
But kept up the classical. I still enjoy.
But by that time, when you were like 12, 13, you were where exactly? Because you moved around quite a lot, right?
Yeah, I did move around quite a lot. So we were born in Luxembourg, and around the age of 6, I moved to Greece for the first time. And so all the classical guitar and electric guitar early days were in Greece.
Okay.
And then I left. We moved to America for 2 years for my, I forget, I don't know what years that would do. I probably was like 14, 15. So I did 2 years of high school in America. And that's where I continued taking electric guitar lessons with some awesome guitar teachers. And then we moved back to Greece for my final year of high school. So a lot of back and forth. And while I was in America as a teenager, I was very fortunate. I got sent. My dad was kind enough to send me for the week summer program at Berklee.
Ooh, okay.
So then,
what year was that? Sorry, just
that was probably. That's a good question. So I think we moved to the States right after the Greek Olympics, which was 2004. So it probably was like 2005, 2006.
Really? I was there on the 2005 one. The summer.
We've talked about this before. I think we might have been there around the same time. But I just remember doing that for like 1 week and just realizing, this is what I want to do. Nice. So when we moved back to Greece for my final year of high school, I started taking lessons with a guitar teacher here who went to Leeds College of Music in the UK. And he was a big jazz guy, and he sort of introduced me to like the jazz stuff. I feel bad because I realized later on that he was trying so hard to teach me stuff that I had to know. But, you know, like when he was talking about major seventh chords, I was like, I just didn't. It's like, show me the power chords. But no, I mean, he did definitely set me up. You know, he got me ready for those the Berklee auditions and all that stuff. So
exactly. Could you tell a little bit what was your, like, how did you, you know, of course you did the summer program, and I guess probably that was the spark that kind of
that was definitely the spark. And then that probably happened during my so we were in the States for 2 years, and I think I went to that the summer in between those 2 years. So for the next 2 years, which were the last 2 years of my high school career, my only focus was like, I need to get better and I need to prepare. And I remember I was practicing my audition piece for Berklee for 2 years. That's how obsessed I was. I knew which piece I wanted to play. I was gonna practice that. And then, so I don't know how it was for you, but I ended up having to go down to Athens because I was living in Greece at the time. So the auditions for Greek potential students were in Athens, and it was right at the cusp of the crisis in Greece.
Best
So I
time.
remember it was amazing. I remember arriving in the basically it's called the Sidoma, so like the main square of in Athens where all the political buildings are. And I was walking with like a Fender hard case, and everybody was joking around saying, "Oh, is that a case full of money?" Because it was like all the money had disappeared in Greece. So it was an interesting period to go for an audition because there was a lot of riots going on. There was a lot of chaos, and in the midst of chaos, I was preparing for an audition.
Let's go play guitar, yeah.
But it was fun. It was really good. Like I had a great. There was like one guitar teacher, staff member. I forget his name, and then there was another two students that flew from Berklee who were part of the the whole audition process.
Yeah.
And it was. I was so scared, but it was an interesting experience because I think I had built it up so much in my head of like, I need to play so well. And then you arrive there and everybody's so nice and so welcoming. And so they make you feel so relaxed. And it went well. And then that's all she wrote. And I ended up going to Berklee in 2009, did the 4-year program, graduated 2013. I think you mentioned you went earlier than you graduated when I was entering.
In 2009, like I think it was summer 2009 or something like that.
So we just missed each other.
Yeah. Because we met in London. Like we actually have ending. We probably saw each other in Boston.
Such a random way to meet as well. I remember I moved to London in 2014, and I was looking for teaching jobs. Yeah. And was it the Rhythm Studio? Was that the name?
The Rhythm Studio. Yeah.
Yeah, I got an interview for that place, and they had me wait there was a waiting room. I just remember hearing you practicing in one of the rooms.
Oh, was that?
And you popped down. It's like you introduce yourself like, "Oh, I'm Chris. You're here for the audition." And then we mentioned that we both went to Berklee and stayed in touch after that.
Yeah. No, I remember that day because was I practicing? I thought I was teaching before. Yeah.
You might have been teaching. I don't know. I think I was like so focused on the interview.
Yeah, of course.
I just remember hearing drums, and then like you pop out. I was like, oh,
there you go. That's another guy playing drums. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. So you've been there like 4 years. You did like the whole.
The whole I did the performance. The performance degree. So I got a BA in performance and with guitar as a principal instrument. But I was talking about this with another guy who went to Berklee around the same time, and I sort of regret doing the performance degree a little bit because initially I wanted to do a double major. So I wanted to do performance as the main major and do a minor in MP&E. Or it might have been the other way around. I don't remember. Sure. But I just remember mentioning that to they had like these student like sort of counselors. They were like older years that would help the younger years. Yeah. And as soon as I mentioned that MP&E and performance, they said, "You're gonna die. You're gonna be in the studios all night, and then you'll have to be practicing for your recitals." So I ended up. I was too obsessed with guitar at the time, so I was like, "I'll just do. Just do the performance."
At the time, were you like just focused? Did you want to be like a session player, or were you just like, I'm gonna, because I know, of course, you're a songwriter. So did you want to have your own project, or was it just like, I want to be a session player?
I think going into Berklee, if I remember correctly, I came from and I think a lot of guitarists go through this. I was listening to a lot of instrumental guitarists. So people like Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, the classics. So a lot of my Eric Johnson is one of my favorite guitarists out there, along with Andy Timmons. So a lot of the music that I was listening to as a teenager was very instrumental, very music for guitarists. So in my mind, I was like, I was going to Berklee to become a better guitar player and become a session player. And so the idea of like writing songs or even like having my own band and or my own songs out there wasn't really a thought until I think second year in at Berklee. Around that time, John Mayer's Continuum album was probably out for a couple of years, and everybody who played guitar wanted to be like John Mayer. So there was a lot of like singer-songwriters.
Even non-guitarists wanted to be like John Mayer. Like
I know, right? Like, but it was incredible. I don't know if people realize what an influence that record had on singer-songwriters and guitar-specific singer-songwriters.
Drummers as well.
Steve, is it Steve Jordan on the drums?
Yeah.
Palladino on bass. A lot of great musicians. And the entire record is one of those records that you can listen to beginning to end and full of classic songs. So once that kind of started circulating, and I was like paying a little bit more attention to musicians like John Mayer, I think it was like, I'd like to try writing some songs. So I did like some lyric writing courses at Berklee. I would play with a lot of singer-songwriters or singers basically, and try and like write songs with them. And then ended up forming a band towards the last couple of years of my of being at Berklee, and then that's where like I got a little bit more involved in writing songs and trying to like structure things. And
but before going to Berklee, have you ever written any songs, or was just like
no? I'm trying to think. Maybe we did do this one song with my cousin George. He probably doesn't want this to be out there. We did a song called Bitter Observation, I remember. And we were teenagers. We went to a studio in his hometown in Greece. I don't remember who wrote the lyrics. It might have been my cousin, it might have been me. But other than that, I don't have a memory of like sitting down and saying, "Oh, let's write a song." It was like more like, let me practice this sweep picking technique, or let me practice my scales and stuff like that. It wasn't so much about writing songs. I think it was after Berklee, during and after Berklee, where I got into songwriting.
Yeah. Was it like actually? I guess probably John Mayer like was the inspiration. I guess.
I think so. John Mayer. I mean, you know this. Like when you go to Berklee, I don't know if you know this. It might be different for Italy, but like in Greece, for example, my circle of friends and the music that I grew up with was very. It was American and English music, but it wasn't very like guitar focused, or other than like the Steve Vai and Steve Ray Vaughan and all that stuff that I listened to on my own growing up. It was very much Simon and Garfunkel, the Supremes. It was like Stevie Wonder, stuff like that. So arriving at Berklee, you get introduced to so many different genres of music and songwriters and musicians that you probably never heard. Like jazz music, I never listened to jazz music before arriving at Berklee. I mean, I knew the Frank Sinatras and the classics, but I didn't know like Joe Pash, for example, or Oscar Peterson, and musicians like that. So through the jazz stuff, I also got exposed to a lot of like singer-songwriters and like James Taylor. I knew of the name, but I didn't know exactly his music, stuff like that. So I think John Mayer is probably the
biggest,
the main my generation. He's probably the main influence for like singer-songwriter and lyric writing and stuff like that.
No, but it's funny because you said like jazz wasn't especially if you come from Europe, it's just a different. I'm not saying like, of course there is a lot of jazz in Europe as well, but at the same time, it's not something that you're like, it's jazz music like in the States is like the classical music.
Exactly. I mean that's what sort of made an impression on me, is that everybody who was American seem to have a vocabulary or a knowledge of jazz because their parents probably listened to jazz. It's an American, it's a American genre of music. We don't have it that much. I mean, it's probably gotten better over the years with more younger generations bringing, jazz music, or creating like maybe jazz bands in Europe. But me as a teenager, maybe I was never exposed to them. Maybe I never come across them. But like, I remember just arriving at Berklee and being like, what is this music we're listening to? Like, what are we talking about? What are these seventh chords we're talking about? Yeah. So, I think it was definitely an eye opener being there. It's like a lot of good exposure.
That's cool. That's so cool. And then, so I guess like you basically, your journey started with guitar, then moved into songwriting while still playing guitar, of course.
Yeah.
And then what was the, I'm so interested to know like your switch to, because I don't think we ever talked about this, like your switch from going to, you know what, actually I like recording people, I like mixing, and I like, when did that come about? What was the inspiration for it?
Yeah, well, I think it's similar to a lot of people's experience where you start to learn stuff out of necessity. So when I moved to London the first time, because I've moved to London a couple of times since then, it was the case that I started writing my own music, and I had this one song that I'd written, and the plan was that I had these friends in Nashville that I was going to send the song. I was recording in London. I was going to send the song to them, and they would mix it and master it and prepare it. And being fresh out of college, I think they probably went through a shock to the system to realize how difficult the industry was, even back then, like 2014. And they had a change of heart. They both studied, they were a couple, they both studied music production, and they just realized that they don't want to focus on doing music production and mixing and all that stuff. They wanted to write songs and at the same time just work a random job other than music. So I was sort of left with no mix engineer and no mastering engineer, and I just moved to London, so I didn't know anybody in London that I could reach out to.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, how hard could it be? There's YouTube, there's books. So I ended up it was sort of like with anything. I just thought, well, let me give it a try. Let me see what information I can find. And my first mixing attempt was basically just copying anything that I remember. Well, the guy that I watched was a guy called Nevo, I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, who has a studio in London, but he works very closely with Waves plugins.
Oh, okay.
And he had this tutorial on YouTube. It was like I don't even remember how many parts, how many videos it was. It was like a series. And it was just a breakdown of how he mixes drums, bass, vocals. And I literally just went through those videos and just like, in hindsight, I wasn't paying attention to what he was actually doing. It was just like, oh, he puts that there, so I'm going to do that. And through kind of trial and error, I ended up mixing my first single. But the whole process was sort of like, it's like problem solving, which I kind of like doing. And it's like a puzzle. You have to find solutions to make things work. Yeah. And I just got obsessed with it after that. I was like, oh, this is a fun process. It's like another level to making music. But a lot of it was just basically kind of depending on what people who knew what they were doing told me, and then I'll just copy that. And then through doing it several times, you sort of pick up things. And then I ended up buying a lot of books on like there's a series that I really like. It's a guy who writes for Sound on Sound. He's got two books. One is called The Secrets to I forget what the actual title is, but it's something along the lines of recording secrets. Yes, we've talked about this.
Secret to mixing and secret to recording.
That's it. I should remember the name. I've bought those books about 3 times each. I keep on giving them away because they're such good books. But I ended up getting those and then just using as many resources. And then in later years, I ended up just going through the entire Berklee College of Music curriculum. I just saw what the reading list was, found all the books, bought all the books, and then ended up just reading those and just picking things up along the year. But it was sort of like, again, similar to watching Elvis Presley on TV and kind of getting that spark of like, oh, I want to do that. I did the mixing once. I was like, oh, this is actually, I like this.
This was out of necessity, though, right? Like, was like
it definitely started.
You needed.
I had no clue what I was doing. I had no clue. I knew roughly what mixing was and what, and even in college, like even at Berklee, like we used Logic for projects. So I would use that and had a bit of knowledge and understanding of what it all is about. But I didn't know like what a compressor was or what an EQ was. I had no clue what those did, and I eventually picked it up. But it started as a necessity, but then became a very dangerous obsession. As you know, it's a rabbit hole of buying plugins and buying gear, and then you get into microphones, and then you're like, I need a bigger space. It's a dangerous obsession to have.
Man, it's crazy, isn't it? Like it's funny because the more I do this as well, the more I realize just like, oh my god, I need to buy new stuff. I need to buy new gear and more gear and more gear. And
I remember like we both teach in the same school, and I remember like every now and then you'll pop in. I was like, yeah, I'm on eBay and I'm looking at this microphone. I'm thinking about but that's the thing, like you also, the more you read about things, and we've talked about this with like when you read like biographies by like famous mixers or producers, and you read about like the microphones they used, you're like, oh, maybe I should get one of those for my project.
That's the secret. That's the secret.
That's the secret. Which there's a huge debate around whether that's the secret or not. But it's a fun. It's I guess it's similar for like people who love collecting guitars. Some of them are a piece of history. Some of them are like great tools. Depending on how you use them. But yeah, with mixing and especially now that we're moving more and more in the box and digital, and you don't need that much space to kind of have like these big analog racks. It's a fun, I don't know. I like pushing buttons and moving dials and stuff like that. So it's a fun obsession.
Yeah. So basically, after so you started just to mix for out of necessity for your own music, and then I remember you also you went just after Berklee. You went to Nashville, right? You didn't.
Yeah, I moved
go straight to London.
No, I didn't.
How was that experience? Like, can you tell a little bit about that?
It was amazing because it's such a big country, the United States, where it's very similar to London in the sense where maybe it's the other way around, but like up north, I feel like we're like Boston, New York, everything's so fast paced, everything's so like busy and lively, and then you move to a place like Nashville or Tennessee in general, I guess, and the pace of living is so different. Everything's so laid back, which is very similar to how my hometown is in Greece. Nice. Everything's like relaxed. Walking paces are slow. We don't get too anxious about things, and have a coffee, relax. And it was very similar in Nashville as well. It was an eye opener for sure. I mean, again, kind of the idea of graduating Berklee, where you're sort of in that bubble, and you have this idea of like, I've graduated Berklee, I'm probably going to be one of the best musicians out there. Yeah. And then you move down to Nashville and you see like there's this 16-year-old kid playing like chicken picking like there's no tomorrow, and you're like, well, what have I been doing for the past 4 years? So it's definitely it's an amazing place to be, to get exposed to amazing musicians, and you can tell that it's a city that breathes and lives music. The only downside for me was the case that it very similar to LA, everything's so spread out that you have to have a car to get around. So that ended up being, unfortunately, one of the problems for me moving down, where I didn't have that freedom of moving around. I was unfortunately depending on a lot with this friend of mine that I moved down to Nashville with, and we had a band at the time. So I ended up kind of opting out and kind of saying, "Oh, well, let me move back to Greece for a little while." The thing is, like, you probably know this, being an international student in the States as well. Like, when you do an OPT, which is the optional practical training, you have to be working 20 hours a week, and then also doing all this stuff to kind of show that you've been active and kind of contributing to the country. So for me, in my head, it was like, well, if this 1 year goes by and I have nothing to show for it, because I can get work, I can move around, I was doing like random gigs, I was like, well, it would be a shame not to be able to renew a visa or be able to enter the country again. So I thought, well, let me move back to Greece and then eventually move to London. But so yeah, Nashville, I mean, I have a lot of great memories of being in Nashville. The people are amazing, the music is amazing, the food is amazing. Oh my god, the food, like a place is good when they know how to eat. So no, I can't complain. It was a good experience.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's so cool. And then just one last thing about Berklee. So that was like Nashville was your last experience, but so when you were at Berklee, because this is like a topic that I get asked all the time, like literally everyone's, oh man, you've been to Berklee, oh great, and they ask you, how was it, would you recommend it, the usual questions that you probably get
the classics
all the time. And I just wanted to ask you, like, do you get those questions? How do you answer to some of them? Or
definitely. I mean, I've had people jump on calls with me to discuss whether they should go to Berklee or not. I think whether it's Berklee or not, like any music college is probably a good place to be when you're 18. Well, I mean, you don't have to be 18, but like when you're starting out, it's probably a good place because it's where you build your network. It's where you especially Berklee. I mean, the clinics that I got to see, like Paul Simon. I grew up with Paul Simon. When I was when there's embarrassing videos of me singing Cecilia to a video, VHS video camera, like, and just to think that I'm sitting like in an auditorium asking questions to Paul Simon, that was amazing. I got to see John Mayer doing a clinic. I happened to be the guitarist from Deep Purple, Steve Morse, showed up and taught one of the guitar labs I was in, like on a run. Just stuff like that just made Berklee worth it. And it's a good place. So if somebody was asking like whether they should go to it, for one, I would say, obviously it's a big expense, it's a big investment. So make sure that you can actually support it, or if you've got like supporting parents that can help you go there, like I would definitely go. I would definitely take advantage of that opportunity to go there. I've some of the other questions I've got is like, the going back to that, is it worth it? It's definitely worth it, but it's not the only place where you could get that education. I know like a lot of amazing musicians who didn't go to Berklee. It doesn't mean that you're going to go to Berklee and you're going to be the best musician ever. It comes down to you on how much you take advantage of being in an environment like that. But yeah, I mean, I think I enjoyed my time there, and it was I've only got great memories from like the lessons, and the guitar teachers I had were incredible. And it's definitely, if you can do it, I say if it's within somebody's means, definitely, do it. But yeah, I don't know what sort of like, what sort of answer would you give to people who ask you?
I'm exactly the same as you, really. Like, first of all, it depends from the person as well, like that. If you're 100% serious, because as you said, like, it's a big expense. You don't want to just like, I don't know, should I do music or should be a doctor?
If you're not sure, for sure. You definitely want to be sure that you want to do music.
Yeah, so I'm exactly like you. I'm 100% with you on this. So yeah, it was just like, it's one of those questions that you, people, they want to know, because of course it's a great place, and people want to know, like, what's so special about it. And it is a special place. When you go there, you realize, wait a minute, this is, because as you say, you see your heroes there, and you're like, wait, wow, it's
yeah, definitely, man. No, the only tricky thing I would say with any successful music colleges, and I don't know if you got this when you graduated, that I left with the idea that, they kept on telling us at Berklee, not everybody, but there was that kind of that chatter that you've been to Berklee, so when you graduate, you're going to be the most requested, musician, which is unfortunately not true. And actually being at Berklee is sort of like a reality check. The amount of talent that is there, the amount of hardworking people. I remember classmates of mine just like being 24/7. They were just like so focused on it, and they had such a motivation. And you can tell, and these people are like gone off to do amazing stuff. So if you're somebody who's thinking of going to Berklee, you just need to make sure, as you said, be like, it's all in, and just take advantage of everything, and just like,
it is actually a big weight. Like when you come out of Berklee, you get like, just you have this weight on you that people expect you to be
the
John
best,
Mayer, or to be, like all the guys that studied there. You're like, oh man, Vinny,
it is a definitely. I mean, we had some teacher, I forget who it was, but I probably shouldn't mention in any case, but they did say, like, you may consider not mentioning that you've been to Berklee straight away, for various reasons. Like, one, most people who are in the industry and play music professionally don't really care that you graduated from Berklee. I mean, it's a plus because they know that you've spent time and you've worked on your craft. But it does come down to how good you are and how social you are. I think somebody will prefer somebody who maybe is not the best player, but they're easy to get along with. Sure. They're, easy to talk to. So other than your skills as a musician, you should develop like these other skills which are like more social, more empathy, like your, as they say, EQ, emotional quality and all that stuff. So no, it's definitely a way. But I think as the years go by, you sort of like kind of don't care about it anymore. You're like, I am who I am.
Exactly. And going back, to you just went on this other journey of being like just also learning about mixing, about recording, and all this. So can you tell us a little bit right now what's because you're also going on another journey again that I'm gonna
it's never ending, Chris. It's never ending, man. The obsessions keep on coming up.
But I love how you go deep, like, just so you started the, of course, like you do mixing, you do recordings, you recorded for your cousin George. Can you tell us a little bit just that experience, how it was like to record for him and just mix his album, his EP?
Yeah, it was so it's one of those projects that took a bit longer than maybe the usual project does. Like, we were working on it for like 2.5 years. But it was an amazing amazing learning curve, because obviously we all know that budgets are very small these days for making records. Unfortunately, studio spaces, not everybody can afford them. So we all try to do stuff within our means and try to like kind of work with the equipment that we've got. But I mean, George, as a musician, so George Marius is my cousin, and that's his record that we're talking about. He's an amazing musician in his own right, and he's a really good producer as well. And he's got like really good, strong senses of what he wants, which is great when you're working with somebody, when you're mixing a track, because he can tell you like, I need this to sound like that, and it's easy to kind of work on that. We definitely worked on a few arrangement stuff together. So we recorded some of his guitar parts. at my little home studio setup. So I've got like a nice little ISO box and not ISO box, sorry, ISO box for amps. So we kind of can blast, basically turn the amps up to 11, and it sounds like a practice amp. So we did a lot of that stuff. We did some like overdubs for other things, and it was all kind of in a home studio space, which is I think pretty incredible. Ideally would be in this massive, massive studio. I recently did a tour of the Air Studios, and just, if only we could be in the Air Studios recording the entire record. But so yeah, it was a George and I have a really good, we're cousins, so we're like brothers in a way. So we've got a really good way of communicating, and he's very good at knowing what he wants, and is kind of helped me guide the mix in various ways. So yeah, it was again, it's like problem solving.
Was it recorded like, so basically like one, drums?
Yeah.
played?
So he had drums recorded. I should remember the names. See, I need to keep notes. I keep on forgetting names.
That's all right.
But he had drums recorded remotely during COVID, towards the end of COVID, and George recorded guitars and bass at his home studio.
Okay.
And then there was like on the record there's strings as well, virtual instruments that he's MIDI program. I did a little bit of MIDI programming myself on it. So a lot of it was overdubbed. Yeah, a lot of. Okay. I mean, if you listen to the songs, they're tricky songs to perform live. There's a lot of odd time signatures. They're quite dense. It wasn't so much a live performance type record. It was a production, a big production type record. So a lot of it was overdubs and kind of punching in and changing things out if needed. And vocals he recorded as well. So we both have these ISO box. I don't know if I've shown you this ever, but it's this like Swedish company makes the ISO box. It's basically like a box where you pop your head in, and you can put a mic up. It's a good tool, if you're in a small flat in London and you can't be too loud and you don't want to upset your neighbors. It's not necessarily super quiet, but it definitely kind of dampens the sound. You won't get in trouble too much. So George has one of those. I have one of those. So he would record some stuff in his home studio, and if we needed to like tweak something, we'd do it in my home studio as well. And then for a while, we just going back. We tried different versions of different approaches to mixing. So somewhere, I think the early ones were a little bit more bottom end, and that was interesting because we were like, oh, it sounds good, but then it didn't translate well in other, when you test it out on headphones. And then we try like a different approach, and that we'd find things that worked from the new approach, and then we take things from the old approach. So we did a few variations of the mix to kind of find the sound and get it exactly how George wanted to sound it. And again, as I was going to say, it's sort of like a problem-solving task, right? You want to make sure that your client, in this case, my George, gets the sound that he wants, and it's sort of a learning curve of how do you separate your own personal tastes from what somebody else likes. Like you may, for example, with drums, you may like your snare drums to be super dry, for example. But somebody else might say like, oh, I need a little bit more reverb on that snare. So it was definitely like a learning. For me, it was like a good learning experience of making sure that I kind of separate myself from my own taste and kind of make sure that it's catering to what the artist's music.
Yeah, sorry, because George was basically, he was producing it, like he was like in charge.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, George is I'd highly recommend anybody, and not just because he's my cousin, but he's just an incredible guitarist, and he has very good.
I've seen some of his videos on Instagram.
Yeah, he's a beast on the guitar, and also his sensibility for music is really good. Like he's got a really good ear, and he can hear stuff. Like even with the mixes, he would hear stuff that I maybe like slip through the cracks for me, and he'd be like, "Oh, what do you think of that?" And we'd isolate. How on earth did you Did you hear that? So he's a really good musician. He's got a great ear, and but yeah, I would say he's the main. Yeah, you would say like he's the producer, like he's all the melodic ideas and all the arrangements and all that stuff is definitely all him. My input was more like maybe let's not double the violins with the cello, for example. It was very simple, very minute things that just helped kind of clear the mix a little bit and make room for stuff to breathe. But yeah, he's definitely like, I would say he's the producer on this record.
Yeah. And so this passion with mixing and recording also moved you into another let's say another
well, yeah.
and
who knows where it's gonna end up?
Exactly. But you basically released 3 new plugins, right? So you got like compressor, distortion, and widener.
A widener, yeah. So it started with the compressor. So beginning of this, I was talking about this with somebody else the other day. It's only been a few months since doing that. I started in January of this year. So it's been about 8 months kind of experimenting with building plugins. And again, it's one of those things where it's problem solving. So it's like a puzzle. And it's just a curiosity of like how things work. And, because you're probably similar to me, like I buy all of these plugins and I love them and I use them to the full extent, but I never really understood why is this plugin, why is this compressor special? What makes it different? How is it different? So being the curious George I am, I was like, I'm gonna learn how to build plugins.
But why? Okay, I'm curious, like, because you build like those 3 plugins, right? What was the reason for it? Because like especially the widener, like I'm sure there is a reason for it. Like you just now like I know what, you could have built like an EQ, for example, right?
Yeah, which I am doing. That's the next. That's the next one. So a lot of these plugins are basically things that I like to use from other companies. So for the widener, which I'm calling the lateral expander, which I like because the first letter of lateral is the L on the left side, and the expander, the R, is the right.
Nice.
So that is basically inspired by Waves Doubler, and I really like the Waves Doubler. I use it. I still use it. I just like the way it would just like I use it on vocals quite a bit, so I like how you can kind of spread and add like a mono track on left and right and kind of play around with the phase, so you can give you this psychoacoustic trick of having a stereo image. But what was for me, a lot of it is also the user experience. I have a certain way of how I visualize things happening. So with the lateral expander, for example, there's 2 faders that are moving horizontally, and in my head, it just it's doing a very similar thing to what the doubler is doing, but the visual of it and like kind of the idea that you're pushing stuff to the sides is a little bit more visibly pleasing to me. It's just like that. So a lot of it comes from like I like these certain plugins by other companies, but I would like to kind of also with features, like I'd like to have certain features that maybe those plugins don't have, but also want to use them, in a way which makes sense to my brain, and hopefully maybe somebody else will use it and be like, oh yeah, this actually makes sense.
Is it mainly like for guitar and because by the way, I need to try them out. I know, like I will. I promise you, I will.
No worries, man. Whenever you get a chance.
100%. But just like I wonder, like, is that mainly for vocals and guitar, or could that be applied? I guess probably also to drums, where you just kind of have like more of a stereo image.
You could play around. You could probably play around with the like overheads. Because it's not so much like a wide. It does have a wide, like the S1 by Waves, for example, or some other analog gear that do this. They does have the idea that it's pushing the signal to the left and the right. So you could, and it's widening it up. But I don't. It might mess with the sound of the overheads. I need to try it out. But I would say the three main ones you could use it for, if you want to try it out, is definitely bass. So bass is, if you want like for a chorus to kind of fatten up the bass. The plugin also has a bit of a you can add a little bit of a chorus effect to it. So adding a bit of the widener and kind of playing around with the left and right phase, it just widens obviously the bass sound and makes it a little bit more oomph. Guitars, definitely you can definitely get like a nice kind of, again, psychoacoustic trick with like maybe a doubled left and right guitars if you want to kind of push them a little bit more to the side. But I love it on vocals. I just you can use it very, and it doesn't have to be too up front. You can kind of like keep it low in the mix, a little bit in the back, but it just gives you, if you A/B it and you take it, even if it's at a low volume, it loses, the vocals sometimes lose a little bit of that space they need to take up. And you don't have to use it on the entire, entire song, but you could punch it in, you can automate it where it's activated for the choruses and just add a little bit more excitement. But I would say, yeah, maybe those were the three probably instruments that I had in mind when building it.
Cool.
Vocals for sure, bass and guitars. I'd be interested to see if anybody else uses it, what else you can use it on. But
I'll definitely try it out. As I said, like I need, I just back from holiday, so I just need to.
Yeah, it's still early September. Yeah, it's still early September.
I want to do it properly. I don't want to just be like, all right, cool, yeah, there you go. Just no. I want to try it out for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Sure. Yeah. So what's coming? What's next? What's coming? Like I know the EQ apparently, right?
The EQ plugin wise, there's the EQ. There's we talked a little bit off camera or off stream about the some other projects that are in the making. But so plugin wise, there's the EQ that's coming out and a few updates for the ones that are out already. Music wise, writing some original stuff, and I've got some projects that I'm producing, so hopefully those will be coming out by the end of the year. And then also there's a few other things. There's an open mic that we're starting out hopefully soon in London. So we're going to try and get some like singer-songwriters together and have some like nice once a month, some nice open mic nights going on. And do you know roughly whereabouts, or is it? I don't want to say quite yet because I don't want to jinx it, but it is a place. If everything pans out the way I hope it does, it's going to be a fun environment to do it in. Sure. There'll be announcements on soon, hopefully. And then the other thing that I'm currently working on, which is in the process of growing, is we're trying to get a musicians network going, like a WhatsApp group. Where London, at the moment, it's sort of focused on London-based musicians, because I don't know how you feel about post-COVID networks, but I basically lost a lot of connections, and a lot of my musician friends ended up stopping doing music and ended up doing other jobs. We've got friends who became developers and other friends who moved back to their home country. So kind of trying to get the spirit of getting people together, because I feel a lot of the stuff is online and a lot of the stuff is we probably do the same thing. We spend a lot of time in our home studios working away on music, and we sometimes may lose that connection with other musicians, and kind of even maybe that would lead to missing out on opportunities. So we're going to try and get some people together and start doing some every 6 weeks or so, kind of introducing a meetup and getting people together just to start talking, and hopefully people can start connecting, having a little bit more human interactions rather than like internet Facebook friendships and stuff like that. So that's pretty much where I'm at the moment. I'm definitely looking forward to doing some new music that will is a work in progress. So yeah, I'll probably be calling you up, being like, Chris, I've got some new tunes I need drums on.
Oh man, let me know anytime. But I want to. Okay, I've got this thing, like the last thing I wanted to do. It's a bit unusual, but I've got 10 rapid fire questions for you.
Let's go.
Right? Shall we do this? Okay.
Let's do it
before we end, and then after we can finish. But yeah, so I have to read this because I wrote those questions probably like
That's
stupid.
fine, yeah. I love it. Let's do it.
All right, here we go. First one. Favorite album that struck you sonically, like, you know, like wait, let me rephrase this. Like an album that you know, that you would, for example, use as a reference track, or like, I don't know, just like you have like a reference track that it's in the album. Anyway, an album that sonically you like, oh my god, this is the best album.
I got you. So album, I don't know about an entire album, but a song that I really love to use as an example of like production is "The Pretender" by the Foo Fighters.
Nice.
And I just love that song. I'm sure that tons of other people love it. But if you really pay attention to the production, the way it goes from like mono to stereo, from like the verses to the choruses, it's just like I think it's just the best example of how like a rock song can be just have massive impact. And that's definitely one. An entire album now, I'm not too sure if I can think. I mean, I love a lot of the Sam Fender stuff, you know, like 17 is a great record. Production wise, sonically is really good. So I would maybe like use that as a reference. The Warning. So when we were mixing George's, sorry, I'm giving you like tons of answers now, but like I've got this list. When we were mixing George's record, some of the references for his tracks were by a band called The Warning. It's I think they're Mexican. It's an all-girl band. They're all amazing. It's a trio, super heavy. But their productions. So David Bendith did Bendith, I think that's his name. Produced their first or second record, and it's just sonically, it's just amazing. And again, it's more like a rock reference, but they're really well produced. Sorry, one last one. Can I give you one last one? So again, with George, because George is a massive influence on me as well. But he used to tour with a band called the Pineapple Thief, and In Exile. Gavin Harrison is the drummer on that record.
Yes.
Bruce, who's the singer, mixes all the songs, and Steve Kitch, who's the keyboard player, masters all the tracks. In Exile and that entire record, I think it's I forget what the name of the album is called, but that entire record is probably one of the best atmospheric records I've listened. And again, it's one of those that you can listen beginning to end, and the sonically is just an incredibly recorded, incredibly produced, incredibly like mixed record. Yeah. Those would be my one recommendation. Not all this. Sorry, I went on for too long.
That's all right. That's all right. So second one, favorite part of your job, like one favorite part of your job, like if you could choose just one thing, you're like, this is the best thing. Like
that's easy. It's my favorite part, and it's the part that I miss the most, and that's like the social aspect of it. The just being in a room, like I always have fond memories of like being in the studio with like George or whoever I'm working with, and just the amount of time you spend with the people in that space creating and exchanging ideas. I think that's the best part of being a musician, and I think it's the part that a lot of us are missing at the moment. So I'll go with that. That was a quick and short answer.
Favorite plugin you can do without, like the one plugin you always have to use, except for yours. I mean, you can say yours.
Yeah, well, that's a difficult one. Let's see. I would say, okay, I'm gonna There's two, but I'll give you the one. I really like the REQ 6 or 4 by Waves. It's a simple EQ. It's a graphic EQ. Like you can, it's similar to the
EQ.
the Fab filter.
Fab
That's sort of
filter.
like that style of EQ. And it's just, I use it quite a bit when I just want to EQ simple. The other one, if I can cheat, is the API 2500, which I keep on the mix bus quite a bit. That's the only ones I would use. I can't live without, basically.
Great choice. Favorite piece of gear so if you had infinite budget, what piece of gear would you buy?
Oh my God. Does it have to be one? Because if
One.
I've got an infinite budget, I'm buying everything.
Can't cheat anymore. Just one.
Ooh. Are we thinking recording? Or are we thinking like, can it be like anything?
Anything. It could be a guitar if you want.
Oh, this is a difficult one, Chris.
First thing that comes to
mind. Okay. Well, something that I still want to this day, and at some point I want to own, is probably like either an LA2A or an 1176. But I want like the Uri versions, the ones that cost like $5-6 grand, maybe more. So the old school ones.
Those cool ones. Nice. If you could choose one between writing a great song and mixing a great song, which one would you do? Which one would you choose?
Writing a great song or mixing a great song? I think mixing.
Okay.
Mixing.
Nice.
I'll go with mixing.
Go with mixing. A drummer that you would love to record one day, or yeah.
I think we've talked about this. Stanton Moore.
Stanton Moore. Nice. Great choice.
New Orleans drummer. He's got like these funk records. Beast of a player.
Yes, absolutely. Favorite instrument to mix, like the most fun that you'll enjoy the most? Well,
drums.
Really?
Definitely drums. Yeah, I love drummers, and I love drums as a sound. And when you get the right drums, I think with guitars and bass and maybe vocals is also one of a fun one to mix as well, because you can play around with effects. But I feel like guitars and bass can tend to be a little bit more straightforward, because it's all about like how are you going to set it up. But with drums, you can set up mics and capture like a nice sound, but you can do a lot with how you blend those mics, and I think it's quite fun doing that.
Nice.
In a mix. Yeah,
that's cool. Your top mixing engineer / producer?
I love Andrew Sheps.
Nice.
And he produces. To be honest, I don't know much of his work as a producer, but his mixing work and him as an individual, I think also is the amount of knowledge he has, and just like how confident he is in his choices and how he approaches stuff. I think he's a good role model for a lot of us mere mortals.
Nice. Okay, last two.
Let's go for it.
Best advice you've ever received?
Best advice I've ever received is go for it.
Nice. Worst advice you ever received?
That's not worth doing.
Right.
That's like the worst advice.
That's cool. Nice. Okay, so just this is not part of the, but if you could give a piece of advice to a young aspiring musician that wants to do what you do, what would you say to him or her?
Be prepared for failure.
Nice.
And disappointment, because it comes with the territory. Have people around you that are supportive and encouraging, and will be have a circle of people around you that you can trust. I would say. and just do the best you can do. That's it. That's all you can do, really.
Man, that was like amazing. Like, thank you so much. Like,
My pleasure, man.
That was the perfect way to end it. Like, I think you know, we have it all. Thank you so much, Billy.
My pleasure. Great chatting with you.
Thanks so much for doing this. All right. Cheers. Thanks.